Hello and welcome to the Animation Communication Podcast, your source for discussion about animation, film, fandom, and more. So please join your host, I Love Kim Possible a Lot, or KP, and Lauren Kizich, the Abbey Roadie, for today's discussion. If you like what you hear, please remember to support by giving a like, a follow, as well as subscribing to the main I Love Kim Possible a Lot channel on YouTube. Spread the word and keep being a part of a great community. This episode is appropriate for all ages.
Hi everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Animation Communication. And by this week I mean like there's first one in a couple months. So welcome. Don't worry, the project is not dead. If we decide to kill it, we will tell you and not just like let it drift into existence forever. So Lauren's schedule is pretty beastly right now, so we will probably figure out something in the new year so you can still get your animation consumption from. I'm running out of words that rhyme with animation, so whatever.
Dalmatian plantation.
I should have like used my two brain cells to know you were going there. Anyway. Yeah. So before we get into the news, we haven't talked about like just the generalness of things. So Lauren, how is the life that you lead?
Busy, but good. I guess I can say more recently of what is already publicly known, but I might as well share it as topical. Haha, anime NYC. How about that stuff, huh? I was gonna say I got to. It's a good thing. I got to do a. I was commissioned by Doug Erholtz, who is an anime voice actor, and for those who know me especially, he voices Zenigata in Lupin the Third. He commissioned me to do some prints for him for Anime NYC for autographs, and so I got to work with him on that, and by the sound of it, people liked him, so I'm happy about that. I was especially happy that he liked them. But yeah, and we have plans to work together more in the future. Can't say on what, but I'm excited because hey, it feels like I'm cool.
Okay, how did that happen? By the way, did he just DM you on Twitter or did he email you or?
So, going back to like May of this year of 2021, I remember watching the Lupin the Third English cast. They were doing a virtual panel, and that with this company called Color World. So they do a lot of like it's kind of like Streamily, I guess you could say, where they do the virtual meet and greets and autographs and all that.
Oh, like stuff. What GalaxyCon is doing now, where they're like, come spend time one-on-one with the person that you like for money on the internet, right?
But yeah, but for this one, they got to do a free virtual like panel, so they streamed it on and they put it up on YouTube, if I remember. Yeah. And they, got to answer some, just general questions about the series, got to work off each other and all that stuff. And but then I remember Doug specifically saying what he was doing, because they were all asked, what do you do outside of voice dubbing and stuff like that? What are projects do you have in the works? And he was just like, oh, I like to be able to develop my own projects and develop my own stuff, and or at least work on other art projects. And sometimes I know I'd be looking for artists for stuff sometime soon, and I'm like, I immediately just I like jumped listening to that, and so I decided, like, super last minute, like same day decision was that I decided I might just like get a one-on-one meet and greet with him for like 10 minutes, because they had a few different options for meet and greets, and one of them was a 10-minute thing. I'm like, that's all I need. So I got to, turns out I was his last meeting of the day, that was pretty cool. They scheduled it same day, so I was at the end of the day for him. And within like the first couple minutes, we like hit it off, and he realized like, once I said, oh, well, because he was trying to ask some general questions about, like, how'd you get into anime and that kind of stuff. And I said, well, Like animation's kind of like, been my thing for as long as I can remember. I went to school for it, always, been drawing since I was a kid, and I do storyboarding and animation and character design. And he goes like, wait, hold up. Where are you at? I'm like, in LA. And he's like, hold on, we may have to like exchange contact info at the end of this. And so we ended up just like the rest of the time just vibing, just getting to know each other, and it was really cool. And,
Okay.
yeah, so we
That's kind of
did
smart.
we just become friends? Yeah. So but it was really cool, and Doug is super super nice, and I'm so glad that at least through the convention, hearing more people getting to meet him and just see how cool he is in person. He is. So
Okay, yeah,
yeah, that's pretty
curious.
much what led to the commissioning, is that I was in his contacts of like, and he knows that I do Lupin art and stuff like that. And I being his most trusted source for Zettigata. So he basically came to me and commissioned me for the prints.
Okay, yeah. Well, like, if only John Delancey was like paying attention and just like watch the things he was in, it'd be so easy. But anyway, okay, yeah, I was just curious because I saw that on my social media and I didn't have a chance to ask you like how that happened. So
Yeah, it went back several months for that. It was yeah, just as I said, and it was funny because I didn't expect anything to come out of that other than, I was just gonna watch a panel. Lo and behold, then then this happened. How did that happen? I don't know. Just I was just like, hey, if he's looking for an artist, maybe we can connect. And then we ended up just like totally vibing. So that was cool.
yeah, every time someone's like, "You're an animator," I'm like, "Yes, I like money." So essentially is what I say now. But yeah, and I just been not doing anything exciting really. Just my roommate got into a car accident. It's not she's fine. It happened a while ago, so I have to like help her around the house and getting ready for art school and contemplating my existence and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't have any fun stories like that. I did do Grand Rapids Comic Con, the one in Mississippi, not Missouri. That was really well. I had fun. I hope if people went to that, or if you're watching this post, listening to this, whatever, listening to this post, that convention, you had a good time. They put me near the celebrities, in the celebrity section, which is, I'm usually not in the celebrity section. I'm usually in the artist alley or something like that. So I did appreciate it, but a lot of times people don't know me specifically when they're going to a convention. They're like, and that's why I do majority commissions, because if people don't know what a KP is, or people aren't into My Little Pony, because that's still kind of what a lot of what's on a lot of posters. They just kind of be like, I don't know why this girl's a pony and she's on the posters as a pony. So I had to.
What do you mean you're not a horse in real life?
I'm not a horse. I'm not a horse, of course. So yeah. So it was a little slow sometimes. I had to kind of like yell at people to buy things, but usually, and we were really far away from the foot traffic too. It's a really big con. Like, I think it was like 10 to 15,000 people, something like that, like a really big con. But because I wasn't close to the foot traffic, I was busy enough, but not as busy as I would like to be. So, learning experience. Now I know if it comes up again to make sure I'm in the artist alley or in like a booth, where a regular person booth, because, people aren't going to be like, oh, it's that girl on the internet. And the only other thing is every con at this point, usually I get someone who's like, oh, I used to watch your videos all the time when I was into My Little Pony. And I know they mean well, but like, it's always just like, oh, but I guess you stop watching videos because I'm only worth something if I'm talking about My Little Pony and not like the other stuff I like too. So, we got like bombarded with people like that. And I'm just like, on Saturday, I'm just like, man, am I only good? Is my content only good if I'm talking about My Little Pony? Do people care if I, talk about things that aren't My Little Pony? And I think we've talked about this before, but like as a creator, like you want to talk about different things, and I'm kind of, wanting to expand what I talk about slowly. I hope that's obvious with the stuff we've been releasing lately, but it's hard because people are people are allowed to like specific things, but when you're creating stuff based around specific things, then people want that niche stuff from you. Like people want, oh, I want X, or I want Lauren to draw Zenigata forever. And that's kind of what you get known for. And then if you're drawing like something else, it's just like, oh, that's not Zenigata, I'm gonna pass. Oh, that's not a My Little Pony video, I'm not gonna watch this. So just remember, like, not specifically with me, but just creators in general, especially creators who've been around like a long time. Like Lauren, I imagine this is an issue with VA games too. Like not like an issue, but like something that happens. Be flexible with the content you're creating and know that, or the content you're consuming, and know that, I know you like Sprite, but you might want to try Coke, because Sprite and Coke are made by the same people and they both care about making you happy on the inside. So, hopefully we're
also possibly corroding your insides.
I only have
I say this while sipping a Diet Coke.
I only have like a couple things in life, Lauren. Please don't ruin Coke for me. Well, I drink Coke Zero. I don't drink regular Coke because it's too sugary. But anyway, I do drink Coke a lot.
I did say, hey, it's a Diet Coke.
Diet
Which
Coke.
I know isn't any better, but...
Diet Coke for people that are not on diets, I guess. I'm clipping a lot, so I'm trying to push the mic back. So cut that out, editor person. But, yeah, so I guess that's my general rant for now. So, and the only people that came up and were like, I like the podcast, we're still at Everfree, so no one specifically. But we have podcast business cards now. If you see me and want a business card for the podcast, remind us that we still exist. But anyway, I'm hoping that...
Like, pick a card, any card.
Yeah.
Literally, they're all the same.
I'm hoping that after our Lion King doc, that hopefully we're releasing in February, knock on wood. The biggest thing was getting vocalists for the ending, and now that we've gotten a couple, that problem is slowly taking care of itself, so that will help diversify the audience. But
yeah, that's a big one. It's a big
it's like an hour.
Yeah,
it's probably gonna be like an hour and a half at the end of the day, so big boy time.
Whoops, a full movie.
yeah, and Lauren designed my Lion King faces, because that's a thing that I know she wanted to do. So I am a lion talking, so hopefully people who are not used to that will be like, why is this lion talking to me on the internet?
Hello, hi, yes, I used to have a Lion King persona. Why do you ask?
What is this furry shit that's popping up in my feed? Anyway, so, yes. Keep on spreading the word about the content, people, but I won't dwell on that too much, because I know after 5 times I do it, people are like, shut up, KP, we want to hear about animation. So speaking of animation, Lauren, do you want to do the Golden Globe story?
Yeah, so it's funny because the Golden Globes nominations just came out today as of recording, and obviously there's only one category in terms of this podcast that we'll be discussing. So they named the nominees. So we've got, and I'm going to say these, Luca, Encanto, Raya, My Sunny Maud, which is from, I guess, the Czech Republic, and Flea, which is from Denmark. 3 of those are Disney out of the 5.
I didn't realize it was so bad. Oh no.
Yeah, it's I mean, and it's funny because I'm like, I loved Luca, And I love Encanto, which is what we'll be talking about today, guys. It's topical. And Raya, I'm like, yeah, it's good. It was good. I mean, again,
okay.
I preferred Luca and Encanto over but and then the other two I wasn't aware of until today. So, I mean, kudos to the international films that made it in. I'm proud of you guys. But at the same time, guess who cranked out 3 films and put them out in 2021 and didn't get a single nod? Frickin' Sony. The Mitchells versus the Machines, a film that blew up almost as much as, I want to say, almost basically equivalent to Spider-Verse in terms of like the hype that it got.
Yeah.
Then you had A Wish Dragon, which was actually, when we had an episode about it, which we loved it. And then you had Vivo, which was a Lin-Manuel Miranda musical, an animated Lin-Manuel Miranda musical done by Sony. All 3 of those were from Sony. And not a single one got nominated. Not even nominated. It's
When will the old cis white man learn that, there's more than Disney making fucking animations?
Yeah, it's just like it frustrates me, especially when we're like when Spider-Verse was taking over stuff and actually won at the Oscars. That was a huge deal. Like, everybody was like, this is like showing like literally the pattern can be broken of either Disney or Pixar winning every time. So it was and that's no knock against Disney and Pixar. It's just, we always know, it's unfortunately because of the standards of the voting academies, that's just what happens. But that's why we have the Annies, guys.
I mean, I've said it before, but I'll say it again. Like, for people that are like actively going to school about, why it's important to make films and why it's important to like have good representation and good stories, for them to scoff at animation, I think is the most fucking hypocritical thing I've ever heard.
Exactly. Especially when it's so, there's so much you can do in animation and all the different forms of animation, and how you can push so many boundaries and break the boundaries with animation. And yet, it seems to be, it always gets the short end of the stick. And it's frustrating, because you look at it, and that's not, again, you look at the films in the categories, of course, they're always going to be, super talented people made these films, and they clearly put their all into it, and that should be applauded. However, the nominations that when they go through for anything that's outside of an animation festival or an animation awards ceremony, it tends to go with like what is the popular vote for like the general audience that is not as savvy to animation.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why I'm like, I actually am like, at least, okay, the international films that made it in, even though I haven't heard of them until now, which again, that has to be with distribution, if they were regionally released or whatnot, I'm not sure. But I looked into the synopses of them and reviews of them, and I'm like, okay, so I'm glad those ones are getting recognition. It's just, again, when you have 3 of the 5 being dominated by one studio and its sister studio, it's kind of just
I mean, I feel like someone's just like, oh, I don't know anything about animation. What came out this year from Disney? Because that's the first one I think of, because Disney's really good at marketing itself. Oh, we'll just choose these ones because I spent 3 minutes Googling it. Oh, shit, we gotta throw in some international ones so people don't think we're biased, but actually, we're not really. I'm gonna Google what came out this year for 3 minutes. Okay, there's the list. I'm gonna go take a nap now. That is the conception.
Yeah, and but yeah, it's I mean, we'll see how the voting turns out, and we'll see how the Oscars turn out in particular. And then of course there's the Annies. So at least we have other ceremonies ahead of us, but especially when all I care about is the Annies.
Yeah.
because that's literally what they were made for. The Annies are animation awards. They're there to applaud the people and in the films and everything in between in animation. So, yeah.
Why can't we have nice things? All right.
Oh, and then I guess you could say the other headline on a lighter note. Centaur World Season 2 just dropped over
is it a lighter note? Because I've heard Centaur World Season 2 is pretty dark.
Oh, honey. I don't think... let's just say... Okay, you saw Season 1?
I did not. No, I haven't seen any of it yet.
Okay, I'm just saying you should watch all the way through. Obviously, it is a chronological thing. It's a journey. So you have to follow it from episode 1. But each season is like 7 or 8 episodes.
Oh, okay.
So it's an easy binge. And plus, the music and the characters, everything about it is so bizarre and so fun and so heartwarming and so captivating and so dramatic. And it's everything rolled into a show that you never thought would all work together, but they do. And it's a spectacle. It really is. And I highly recommend if you, the audience, have not checked out Centaur World, please do. The premise seems bizarre. It is. but the way it comes out and unfolds, and especially as it goes into the second season, I like that even though there are songs in there, I feel like the first season had stronger songs, but that doesn't negate the fact that the way the story unfolds in the second season, man, you would have never thought it would have go this direction for a show that begins with, and it's not a spoiler, the premise is that it's a warhorse who gets sucked into a portal, or at least accidentally gets transported to this other dimension, where it's all centaurs, and they're cutesy, roundy, wibbly wobbly, super roundy, fluffy, cuddly, candy-coated, like very innocent creatures. And they're all different kinds of centaurs, so they're going to be all different kinds of animals. You can have a bear tar, you can have a llama tar, you can have an alpaca tar, you can have an elephant tar, kind of like bird tars. That they have all of these different creatures there, and they all live in like a kind of a ignorant bliss when this warhorse gets sent there, and basically she has to find her way back to her rider, because she's like, well, we're in the middle of a war in this other dimension. I have to go back and go back to my rider. So, and all the way, it's a whole journey for her to get back to the gate to the other world. And then season 2 just like goes ham, and I don't want to spoil any part of it, because trust me, you're going to love it. It's a ride, and I can't recommend it enough.
Okay, yeah, because I've been hearing season 2 is getting like mixed reaction, but I also haven't watched the show, so I don't really understand why season 2 would get mixed reaction. Like, some people are like, man, it went too dark and now I'm sad. So it kind of vibing. So
I wouldn't say, I think for me, I didn't say it went too dark. I say it was, I anticipated, given the premise is that the horse comes from a realm where all she's known is war, we were going to go back into that. And it's basically seeing how all of it ties together, because where everything leaves off is it's implying heavily that there's going to be a continuation of sorts after this. Mm-hmm. But I cannot say how that's going to be, because that's a spoiler for the end, obviously. But it's definitely heavily implying there's going to be more, at least of this world and the characters in it, and that's all. It's so hard to say things without spoiling them, because I'm like, but I'm telling you.
We can move on. We can talk about season 2 next time on the KP podcast, and I'll be like, I know I'm late, but I have feelings.
Yeah, we can talk about the entirety of Centaur World at that point, because if you get through all of them, which again, easy to do, because it's only about 7 or 8 episodes a season. I think the first one was like 8 episodes. And the second one was 7 episodes, but the 7th episode is like an hour long, meant to be like a finale, like a season finale thing. So, but yeah, it's so much fun, and it's got all this Broadway talent in there. Lots of great fun animation, lots of great characters. Go check it out.
Okay, yeah, we can move on because this isn't the Centaur World podcast.
Hey, it's still part of the headline. I can still sell it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So anyway, now we're gonna talk about the Disney movie that is it doing well at the box office, Lauren? Because I don't know.
Well, the thing is, it's funny because everybody's saying, "Oh, bad at the box office." It's different in this era now because we're going off of old ways of measuring success. Is in a box office when it's like, well, if they had released the movie simultaneously on streaming and in theaters, I feel like, which they didn't with this one, I feel like they would have seen a lot more success because more people were counting on it being available for streaming simultaneously, which is like, hey, if anybody knocks HBO Max, I will I will debate you on it, because at the very least when Warner Brothers releases their stuff, they'll have a simultaneous release in theaters and on HBO Max. So there's that.
Because Warner Brothers is cool.
Yeah. So it's but with Encanto, I say it's so, for anybody that is getting the opportunity to see it on a big screen, I say go see it, because not because the story itself is big, it's because the visuals are so enamoring. And again, I don't know if I brought it up to you before, but they had to create like new technology to produce new colors that the system hadn't made before at Disney.
Oh,
and that's why this one's gonna be, this one I think Encanto is supposed to be like their most colorful film to date, because of that. That they literally invented colors on a spectrum that they didn't have before.
Wow.
And yeah, if you haven't seen it yet, well, I mean, what are you doing listening to this? But if you have seen it, you get it. You get how gorgeous it is. And yeah, I in terms of its success at the box office, I feel like going by those numbers, I think it more matters in terms of the content within the film. And
is that code for it's not doing well at the box office?
Well, no, it's literally, it's a great film, and it's just a shame that because of the era we're in.
No, I get your point. I guess
there's a lot of people still feeling unsafe to go to a theater,
yeah,
or they are immunocompromised
fair.
and they can't go. That's why I'm saying you can't gauge the success of you can't gauge a box office properly anymore because of that.
Yeah.
So you can't measure success by box office. Like they're saying, West Side Story's not doing well at the box office either, even though a lot of people are saying, hey, it's actually pretty good. So,
are movie theaters going to be faded out of society as time goes on?
I just know that AMC bought up a bunch of theaters, especially like I know they had their acquisition of ArcLight, which was the former Pacific Theaters, for a lot of locations. And then they bought up whatever Pacific Theaters were left as well. So I mean, they're a juggernaut that's still trying to stay around and keep themselves going. So I don't know. I say they're still going to stick around a while longer, as long as people keep going. So
I guess we'll see what happens. But
and then there is also the thing is, they also have their Fathom events and all that kind of stuff. So there's always going to be something where people will want to see something at a big screen. Like, let's say it's a pro shot of a Broadway show that they would have never been able to see otherwise. Like, maybe it's a particular cast, and they're like, oh, well, this is the only time they're getting to play this, and I don't know where else I'm going to be able to watch it. Let's go see it here. And everybody's gets spaced out in the seats anyway, so. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
anyway, back to Encanto.
Yeah, for the people who aren't going to see it in the theater, it will be on Disney Plus on Christmas Eve, so you can watch it then. So, which I think,
So if you're willing to wait for like a week and a half,
a whole week and a half,
a whole week and a half,
a whole week and a half. But I thought it was just okay. I liked the visuals, as Lauren said. I thought they were really cool, but I like big stories, and I feel like the story was very self-contained into like this family and this town specifically. You know,
on the other hand, I don't think that was a bad thing. I think
I'm talking about like what what tropes I like in stories.
Yeah.
So that's very whatever, diverse, whatever. I guess, I mean, you know, I just didn't like. There's not really any reason I'm feeling just okay about the movie. I think it felt kind of short to me for some reason, and I don't know. I guess it just felt a little bit underwhelming to me, story wise, not visually. Visually, there was a lot of stuff going on. I'm sure, Lauren, by your tone, you really liked it.
I enjoyed it. I tried to have no expectations going into, and I have tried to avoid as much as possible. I even avoided listening to the soundtrack before going in, because I'm like, how many songs are going to be spoilers for what's going to come up in this movie? And I only allowed one song to be played to me, and it wasn't a spoiler. It was just a relevant song.
Yeah.
Older sibling syndrome. It was, and I still think it's one of my favorite songs out of the soundtrack. It's Surface Pressure. You know, the eldest sister's, the strong one, her song. But I was going to say, yeah, I know a lot of people say with Lin-Manuel that this may not be his strongest song lineup, which I can agree with that. It doesn't mean that they're not good. It's just, I know it's not Moana. I think that's what people were banking on.
Yeah.
Or Hamilton. But then again, two very different projects there. But you do get his stylings throughout the songs, which is nice. And I think I liked that they kept the story small. I think it works to the advantage, because it is, in the end, what it is it's about the family. And I like how they give little windows to each of the family members, so you can see how everything. I guess this is not going to be spoilers free if you're going to be here. So we can.
Oh yeah, well. Now we're gonna move on to spoilers. So those
because
are
I
our
feel
initial
like
thoughts.
Yeah.
I thought it was like 6 out of 10. Lauren, what's your rating out of 10?
I'd say I'd give it an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
I think it's because, again, it's like, on a visual standpoint, freaking gorgeous. I think one of the absolute best looking of the CG Disney films to date.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, I think, again, the points off, it would be like, I'm as much as I love the songs, it's not up to par of like instant Disney classic. But that's okay. It doesn't have to be. Mm-hmm. It's the songs that fit the families, and they're very different for what they are for Disney songs. Which, again, thank you, Lin-Manuel. That you get these different stylings all for each of the different family members, which is really cool. And also the themes in general for the family. And saying that there is no villain in the end. I like that they set up a red herring for Bruno. And everyone jokes, this is the year, 2021 is the year Disney and Pixar hate Bruno, I guess. You got Silencio Bruno in Luca, and then you got, we don't talk about Bruno in Encanto. But,
they should have talked to each other and be like, oh, you named your character Bruno? Oh, we have this thing about Bruno. Oh, maybe one of us should change the name.
Yeah, but the funny thing is that Lin-Manuel I think reportedly he came up with the name Bruno for the character because he wanted a song where he can go like something no, like he wanted it to be lyrical. Uh-huh. So he literally formed the song around the name Bruno. So, and Bruno stuck. So that way, we don't talk about Bruno, no. So, But yeah, in terms of the general themes, what I even liked also is the short that they had before the movie, Far from the Tree, about the raccoon family, is that very relevant themes of family dynamics, and generational, and almost like generational karma, I want to say, when you're seeing generational patterns, and certain patterns that are meant to be broken. Like, maybe we approach it differently this time, because realizing it's a toxic thing, and then you go break that toxic cycle. It ends up kind of being a theme late in Encanto as well. So as we have this whole family that lives in this magical house, the magical house that's given all of these, all the family members, except for Mirabelle, of course, different magical gifts. The problem is, as we see throughout the film, and it starts to become more and more apparent, is that everybody who has a gift is almost like burdened with their gift, because it's not something that they asked for. They don't even know what they're going to get when the house gives them that power. And then there's this whole pressure from the grandmother to uphold tradition, to uphold this like position in their little society, that they are the family that the rest of the town looks up to. And so it's like, we can't mess up, everything's got to be perfect. Everybody has to be perfect. And that comes down to where you see it in the eldest sister being expected to be strong and being able to carry as a physically and symbolically carrying everybody else's weight, in terms of their burdens and their problems. And she starts feeling it, and she starts cracking under the stress. And so that's the surface pressure. And then you have, I believe her name's Isabella. She's the quote perfect sister who has the ability to grow flowers. She's deemed as the little Miss Perfect of the family, when really she wants to be a rebel. She doesn't want to be expected to be perfect all the time. And again, another relevant theme there is like, when you're expected to be, and you have all these expectations set on you to be something that you really are like, maybe once in a while, can I not be perfect? And then it's like, it's almost like again, like the grandma doesn't give room for error. And when Mirabelle is not given a gift by the house, it's almost like she sees that as, like a bad sign, that she sees Mirabelle as, somebody who's like a burden, because she's not this little perfect person like everybody else. But the problem is that everybody else that has the power in the house is also feeling the pressure of having to hold up that quote perfect family image because of their gifts. And it's gifts, again, they never asked for. They were given to them. So in the end, I like that there is no villain. It's literally just a family trying to work with the pressures that either are thrust upon them by the town or by their family, or and basically Mirabelle trying to figure out what is causing all of this strife in the household. And then she realizes at the end, and learns it for herself. It's all rooted in, again, it's the generational thing. It's almost like pressure upon pressure upon pressure, because of the grandma and her history, and the house being a haven, and she doesn't want to lose that haven after having to flee with her husband and her children, having to flee basically from, I guess you could say, from like bandits that were killing, destroying villages and killing people. And her husband sacrificed himself to save them. And basically how I see it is that his soul became the candle that creates the Encanto.
It's like Monster House, them. But happy.
Yeah, but way more colorful and way less cement.
We're referring to like a
2005.
Yeah.
2005, actually.
Oh, okay, yeah, 2005 CG movie called Monster House, which you can watch to get this one joke if you want to. Anyway, that's funny. All right, but yeah, continue. I don't want to interrupt your analysis.
Oh yeah, no. I was gonna say, I loved how they presented all that, and then Bruno also, again, when he's a red herring to be a bad guy, he's not a bad guy. He's literally
Bruno's the best character. Fight me.
Yeah, I'm like, I like that everyone jokes like, hey, if you are a person who likes stinky Ratman characters, here's literally a stinky Ratman. He is wonderful and puts on different personas, and he lives literally with rats in the walls of the house when everybody thought he was banished. He's like, no, I've just been here. This like poor guy, and it's all because he has the gift of seeing the future. And basically he saw a glimpse into the future that the family didn't like, and so the grandma pretty much banished him.
That's healthy.
And yeah, again, this is where it comes down to realizing where all of toxicity is all built up in this family. And it's because it's her pressure on the family, but then you realize why she does it. And it still doesn't make it. What I like is, again, they don't say she's right in it, but you understand where she comes from with it.
Yeah.
And in the end, they all have to like basically come together to heal and go like, you know what? We hear each other now. We can't put this kind of pressure on ourselves and each other. And especially like poor Bruno, he was given this gift, and he didn't ask for it. And he's just going like, why do I always see, like, it's like every time I see something, it's something that nobody wants to see. It's always going to be like the future's bad. Everybody wants to see the bad things. And it's like, and when he ends up actually seeing something that would actually help Mirabelle, it's immediately perceived as something bad because she's standing in front of the house as it's cracking at its foundation. And what I like is the symbolism of the house breaking down and having to be rebuilt. It's something that was on a foundation that got shakier and more cracked and more destroyed over time, that eventually it just, it crumbled. It fell apart. And to a degree, it had to, for the whole family to come together and realize what was going on. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I feel like it was a smartly handled movie for what it had, and that they kept the story small was nice, because I'm like, in the end, it's about the family. Mm-hmm. You don't need to have a big journey to show that. The journey is, I want to say it's kind of like Soul, where it's a smaller scale story, except Soul tried to make it sound itself bigger with the whole soul realm and all that kind of stuff. But I think Encanto handled it better in a more entertaining way, because I'm like, with Soul, it has important messages in it. And it does it very smartly, but it's not something I would repeat view. I wouldn't binge watch it over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. It's way too heavy to do that. Encanto handles it in a lighter way and does it with music.
Yeah.
In song form.
I think it's one of those movies, I guess to say my piece, I think it's one of those movies that if you relate to the characters, like I'm reading a lot about how people might relate to Mirabelle if they have some sort of disability or something like that, where everyone else is quote unquote normal, and how they don't fit in and stuff like that. It can be like your movie, quote unquote, if you really relate to that, or you relate to one of the family members specifically, or you relate to that specific hardship with the grandma or whatever. That being said, I think if you don't particularly relate to any one of them, then it's a fun movie. Like, I think it could have been boiled down to a short if the songs were taken out. At the end of the day, like maybe like a 20-minute short or something like that, I think would have been fine. So that's kind of what I mean as far as I feel like the story, like I also get what you're saying about, it's just about the family, but I feel like like you could have gotten a similar beat story-wise with like a 20-minute short or something like that.
I think it's because it's something that it's a type of story that has been handled in short films, that it needed the time to be able to explore these relationships in a longer format, because you need the time to be able to digest everything and be able to piece things together between all of the family members and how they all connect, and the different stresses that they're going through, in order for everything to kind of come to a head at the end.
Right.
But I do see your point in terms of it. Like, yes, it
Like
very much could have been handled.
if you boiled it down to the relationship between Mirabelle and her grandmother and like kind of cut the other aspects of the family and kind of focus on their kind of headbutting, I guess, quote unquote. Yeah, I think like it could go either way, and that's where I kind of think like, it's good, but like, did it need to be a feature, like, with and still get
I
the same
think
point across,
I mean, you could very much get the same point across, but also the drama of it comes through Mirabelle discovering who she has to heal with. Because it's the when she thinks she has to make up with her sister, like, come on, let's hug it out. Realizing that the hug that she actually has to have is with her grandmother after a heart to heart that she didn't know she was going to have. And especially when, as much as she loves her grandma, she does ultimately like live in fear of her because she has that guilt of not having a gift, and the grandma looks down on her because of it. And it's like and so you kind of had to have this whole journey of her realizing, everybody, I want to say it's just that she had to kind of discover it for herself, because she had to kind of find an answer for why things were the way they were, and that had to be seen piece by piece, because especially when you're able to sit in her shoes and see how she interacts with the rest of the family and seeing who she's closest to and who she's not as closest to, it does affect, how we see the story, and I guess how we're able to digest as the audience, like, here's where the issues lie. Here's where the issues don't lie. And it's a good way of breaking down family dynamics in this format, I think. But if we were to take it to the absolute bare bones of the story, it could be shortened down into a short film and not have the music and all that kind of stuff. But that's why it was blown up into a bigger story, is because there's clearly some important family dynamics that had to be addressed in there, and it was good that they did it.
Yeah.
Especially when I feel like a lot of Disney films don't explore those kinds of things, and I applaud them for doing it.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like, like the pro, not the con, the pro of kind of stretching it out is that you can show that toxic grandma lady is kind of affecting multiple people and not just Mirabelle with her whole, like, and as well as it's not just like a feud between them, it's something that's affecting more than just them. If that makes sense. But yeah, I think kind of I agree to disagree with the other points, but I also wanted to make a comparison. So if you guys haven't played it, it very much reminds me of Edith Finch. So what I'm talking about, I don't think Lauren's. It's a game. It's called What Remains of Edith Finch, and it's great and it's beautiful, and I'm probably going to talk about it on the main channel at some point. But it's also very, 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 very sad. So if you want to watch it, or play it. It's on Steam. It's a walkthrough game essentially where you're kind of discovering things. Or if you do not want to pay money because you're cheap, you can also watch quote unquote theatrical cuts of it on YouTube, and it's about the same length as a theatrical movie. But it's very, very emotionally strong. Like, you will be crying multiple times throughout it.
So I guess go in with a box of tissues at the ready.
Yeah, but it's like,
and probably avoid if you're not into that kind of thing.
Yeah, obviously.
If heavy themes aren't your jam, then it's probably not for you.
Yeah, but it's very much like an art, like, why do we exist kind of thing. But it also and it also has kind of similar themes as far as family affecting, like, the toxicity of people's relationship with their family kind of trickling down through the generations. And Edith Finch doesn't really have a happy. I mean, the whole circumstances of Edith Finch are kind of a tragedy, and you just kind of explore the tragedy. So, but it's kind of like the sad version, I would say. But it's still about a house, and it's still about, you know, a matriarch who is obsessed with the legacy of the family and puts too much pressure on other people in the family to, you know, deal with it essentially without giving too much away from Edith Finch. So it kind of reminded me of that too. But at the end, obviously in Encanto, the house healed and blah blah blah, and that doesn't happen with Edith Finch. Rip, literally, kind of. But yeah, I think, you know, it's not the strongest Disney movie that's come out. I feel like, you know, like you'll watch it once, and again, unless you relate to one of the characters specifically, then you'll probably be like, okay, that was good. That was about a family who had toxic roots that kind of worked through their issues with how they perceived things, and they kind of came together at the end and realized, like, hey, maybe superpowers aren't the best thing ever. Maybe we should value people beyond.
Okay,
you know,
but Antonio does have the best one.
Yeah, that's true.
And also, he is my son.
Oh, something I also wanted to bring up for his dad. They just used the same model for Maui, right? And they just put the hair on.
I mean, it seems like it almost, but I mean, he does have a similar build. He's just shorter.
God bless. I was gonna point that on Twitter because I'm just like, you guys, I know things. You can't do that.
Also, I guess Camillo, their other son, who is he's the shapeshifter. Somebody looked into it. I'm like, you know what? They could be onto something. Is the description for Camillo it says he is a teenager who is trying to figure themselves out. And I'm like, interesting use of he, they. It almost seems like that they're trying to allude to the fact that, you know, like anybody, a young person trying to figure themselves out. And it could also be translated into, you know, figuring themselves out gender-wise, you know? So you never... and considering Camillo has, like, these... they noted that he's a boy with eyeshadow on. He does. So it's almost like it leaves it open to interpretation that way, which I think is really interesting, and I wouldn't actually be surprised if they ended up going, yeah, he's kind of figuring himself out, and maybe there's a story for him down the line. But that would be cool if they ever...
Yeah, speaking...
delved into the family again through, like, books, maybe. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Or, like, a short or something.
Yeah, where are they now? I'd like to see that with this family, because they are interesting.
Disney Plus short that will happen in, like, 5 years. Anyway, yeah, speaking of LG, whatever, I never get the things right. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
The muscle girl, right? She's popular with
Louisa. I was trying to remember. Her name was Louisa.
Yeah, she's popular with the gays, right, as they say, because of her build and, you know, how she's just being received. And I just think it's fun that, you know, people are like, because there's not really been a buff female character in feature film.
And they treated her with lots of love and care in this movie. That's what I'm like. I love Louisa, and just, you know, especially just like relating to Louisa in terms of like being the elder sibling and having a lot of pressure on you to be able to shoulder a lot of responsibilities, that kind of thing. And again, her song's a jam. I mean, a lot of songs are jams, but that one especially is a jam. But it was, yeah. And also, yeah, you're right. In terms of her design, she was very well designed. And yeah. I'm glad that they went with, like, the variety of shapes. And especially I'm like, if you're going to have a strong girl, I mean, how else are you going to do? I'm like, how else to perfectly illustrate her strength? And they designed her really well to be a perfect balance of that strength and also just, like like I know like when there's like some like older cartoons and stuff that would all fall into like weird stereotypes of like strong girl but gotta have like a deep gruff voice or whatever, and they don't do that with her, like thank God.
Yeah.
So she's actually treated with care.
Way to go,
Go
Bub.
Louisa. And
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
oh no, I was gonna say, and yeah, again with Antonio, I'm like, the moment I saw like literally just one trailer with him interacting with the animals, I'm like, you are my son. just hanging out with the animals and being good with the animals. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'd want that power too.
Yeah, that's a mood. Let's see what else. So I was pleased by that, and I was kind of expecting through her song, because Hercules is mentioned in her song, that it would be like the Disney Hercules and not just like another Hercules.
No, that was I appreciated the, oh yeah, that's another thing, the visuals in the song sequences, like the choreography and everything, like that was fun. It felt like I think even Shafrilla said, and it was something that I had been thinking about, and he worded it just how I was thinking it, was the song sequences, when they go into like the fantasy look, they're almost like Friend Like Me. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? Yeah. Because they go very theatrical, very, about character in the spotlight, while bizarre stuff goes on in the background, mm-hmm. or these intense, crazy visuals that have nothing to do with like the actual environment. All these like I guess was it like diegetics and stuff that is not happening within the universe. It's just part of a dream sequence and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Part of a fantasy. Yeah, it feels a lot like that, which was, I guess that's why there was a lot of fun with these different musical numbers, that they were able to go all out with those kinds of visuals. And that was really great. I like that they experimented with that.
Yeah, I did as well, because, what makes a movie suck is if you're going to put songs in it and not have, fun visuals with the songs, or else why animate the damn thing?
Yeah, exactly.
But
it's like, if you wanted a musical with just the characters standing there singing, you could have just done it live action. But no, you take advantage of the fact that animation, you can do frickin' anything with it.
Lord. I don't really have any more thoughts about the movie. It was okay for me. It was fun. The songs they're not Hamilton catchy, for sure.
Yeah, and I guess you could say, because depending on Moana and what do you think of Moana's soundtrack?
I think the Moana soundtrack is much better than this one.
Yeah. So I'm like, again, I can agree with that, where it's like, every song was a bop out of Moana. This one has like songs that are important for the characters, and I do enjoy them, but I know I enjoy Moana's a lot more. But it is cool that you can see over his many songs like the signatures of Lin-Manuel throughout mm-hmm. them, while there's still also being a variety, which is nice. I personally, I think I enjoyed it more than you did, and that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, what are we allowed to have different opinions or whatever?
Gasp! That's blasphemy.
That's blasphemous. But yeah, we did it. We did the podcast. We did another podcast before the year.
So if you guys haven't seen it and you somehow sat through this entire spoiler-ridden podcast,
that's a lot of work.
Yeah, you put in all this effort to sit around here. Well, then go see the movie, I guess, or wait a week and a half for it to come out on Disney Plus, whatever the case. I recommend seeing it at least once, just so you can see it for yourself, and maybe you'll be a person that connects with a character or two in there. So there you go.
I'm just
also
checking.
Shout out to Mirabelle for being absolutely wonderfully designed and animated. She's a great lead character. I can say that.
Okay, I checked, and we haven't done an episode in a month, so happy month anniversary.
Hey, I think this was in the end, I think we had a great discussion about this. So hey, if we're providing you guys with a great discussion about stuff after a gap then you know what? I think it would be worth the wait.
I mean, well, it's better than just trying to make content and be like, how are you, Lauren? How are you? We already talked about that thing. I guess we're just gonna stare into the space sky for a little bit. So it's Christmas time as we're recording this, so Merry Christmas. Hanukkah's over, but like I said, like I said last year, Hanukkah's kind of underwhelming anyway. So
we have a Hanukkah episode, by the way, if you guys want to go back and listen to
yeah, all of our holiday stuff we did last year, so you can archive if you feel like you're in the Christmas mood of Christmasing. Hopefully you'll listen to this before Christmas is over, so, or if not, we're just talking to the wind. But, yeah.
Unless you're one of those people that likes to listen to Christmas stuff all year round, in which case, congratulations. This is the episode for you, I guess.
That's a lot of emotional effort for that. But yeah, I guess we can wrap. So, so I don't even remember the social medias anymore.
We're at the KP Podcast on Twitter. Obviously, if you're listening to us, you're obviously streaming us from somewhere. So follow us on our streaming platforms. We also post these episodes on YouTube with a visualizer. Whatever, however you get your fix. We're happy you're here.
We're happy you're listening to us on the KP Podcast channel. As far as more, or there's any news in general, we're gonna try to get back on like some kind of schedule after the new year, so we might be having some guest co-hosts a little bit to mix things up because Lauren is working a lot and I cry. So, and hopefully keeping up with more of things that are coming out, like Centaur World. And Lauren, give me something that's coming out next year that you want to talk about.
Well, I have been wanting to avoid spoilers for it, but there is also Belle. That is the new it's a Japanese film that is animated film. Of course, I wouldn't be saying it here otherwise. That's coming out in the USA. I think it's January 14th, but it will have some select pre-screenings on the 12th and the evenings of the 12th and the 13th, depending on the theater. Check your local listings. That it's supposed to be a twist on the Beauty and the Beast story, but using virtual reality, and basically about a girl becoming popular via her avatar in the virtual reality world. And there is also another character who is portrayed as a beast within that same realm. So there's a whole, but it's not 100% supposed to be like verbatim, like the Beauty and the Beast tale. But what's cool is, they're adopting, familiar things and applying them to a new realm and with new character dynamics, which is, that's as much as I know about it, I've been very, very eager to see it.
Yeah, I was gonna say ballsy of them to name the movie Belle, because I imagine like normal people would be like, I'm confused, is that a Disney movie? Is that a thing? So, good for them. Hopefully the normal cisgen men that we like to make fun of here.
And it is,
Don't
if I
get
remember,
confused.
it's a 2D and 3D animation, it's a blended film, so where the characters are normally like 2D animated in the real world, in the quote real world, in the virtual reality one is where it's CG, but it's got like a cell shading and that kind of stuff, so it has like a 2D look to it, but it's so anyway, it looks really gorgeous, and I know there's people who've already pre-screened it somehow through ASIFA and all that kind of stuff, and they said they loved it and have not given any spoilers on it, so that's good. So I'm excited for that one.
Yeah. Let's see what else, and then if the need arises, I think we can squeeze in talking about Spider-Man if I really like it, but that's not animation, so we'll see. That's another thing. We're getting a two-parter for, as far as I know, 2 parts for the next Spider-Verse film, because it's saying, what was it, it's Enter the Spider-Verse? Is that what they call it now? Is Enter the Spider-Verse? I don't know.
Beyond the Spider-Verse? It was whichever Spider-Verse it is. It's not
whatever.
We're talking about not No Way Home. we're talking about the actual animated Spider-Verse.
Oh, I was talking about No Way From Home, but I think they're both connected too. So they're not really connected, but they both have similar themes as far as there's the reality and stuff.
The Miles Morales one and the Peter Parker one. Well, we'll say that maybe that separates it a little bit.
So anyway, I'm a big Sam Raimi simp, so I got my tickets for that and I'm excited. So.
What do you mean? There's no Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield here. See, they're not in the trailer.
My favorite thing is someone, I don't know if you saw it, Lauren, but someone edited that scene in Incredibles.
Yes, when they say he moves right there, and it's where what was it? Where the lizard gets punched in the face by the air. Like, it's almost as if somebody punches him here.
So I'm sure it will be out by the time this podcast comes out. But we'll be talking about.
You got two multiple universe Spider-Man movies coming out, one animated and one live action.
Maybe they're in the same universe all along.
Or it's one of the many. It's a multiverse after all.
Yeah. All right. So, and then as usual, please consume the main content. We did a top 10 Disney villain song because I'm also top 10 Disney villain song list thing that people do. And it tanked, I think, because it got hit by Content ID really, really hard in the butt. So we're gonna be more careful in the future. But tell your friends because I want to feel relevant again. Anyway, Merry Christmas. Hopefully, you guys have a Happy New Year. Woo.
Yeah, we'll catch you all on the flip side. If there's no new episode before the end of the year, this will be our episode. So. Have a very safe and happy rest of your holiday season. Very happy rest of 2021. And here's to 2022 being bustling and busy and
hopefully
awesome.
It's a little
better. Because we got a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, and the podcast isn't ending, so don't worry.
Yeah.
All right, bye every pony or whatever.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you so much for listening to Animation Communication on YouTube, Spotify, or your favorite podcast provider. We are really hoping this show makes a difference in how people view animation and media, as well as giving and providing advice for people all over the world who like or want to join the animation or media industry. If you liked what you heard, please remember to subscribe and rate those 5 stars, as well as tell your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our main YouTube channel, I Love Kim Possible a Lot, and turn those notifications on. My name is Scribbler, and you have been listening to Animation Communication.